I haven't been up here for a while, and certainly not with the camera. This is the top of the hill behind our house. You know, I film this often. I've had different occasions I've had to spend a lot of time up here. I actually call it the healing hill. So if you need to be healed, come here and go up on the hill. I'm surrounded by pasture that's goat pasture, unirrigated goat pasture. And the vegetation looks quite different. And why I'm up here is because I'm going to go into the woods. But I'll tell you about that and take you along. But I'll tell you about that in just a moment. First of all, this here on top of the hill, all this stuff, it's the makings of the material for an octagon of 8 folk huts, all surrounding the moot point, which is a stake right in the middle. And in the middle of all of these 8, I intend to build a ger, G-E-R, and I have the material for that here as well, except for the 8 bunk beds that will frame it. I've talked about that elsewhere, and that'll be a different subject. I mean, I'll talk about that later. But now, back to the water business. I can bring water, and I have, from the woods into this field. There's an aqueduct right there, which you can't really see, which I had my neighbor build with his little backhoe. And from there, the water can go piped by gravity to the bottom of this hole. And over that hole is where I intend to put that little windmill that's down below that you've seen before, that 3-legged windmill. And its sole purpose will be to pump water the rest of the way up to here. So I'll have wind, water, fire, and earth, wind, water, and fire. The 4 elements right here. But all right, now back to going into the woods. I'm going there because even though this is just about to turn August, the driest week traditionally of the year, there's a water source back in there that I think now I can manage to use to bring water here to the field. And how I can do that, I think, is because by using these cloths, that technique that I discovered down below, I think I can apply it there. So we're going to take a little bit of a walk into the woods. That's where I came from. I'm going along Grandpa Jim Biss, dragging one of the cloths, and I'm going to experiment with some plastic up in there as well. And there's the way I'm headed. You can see it curves because this is basically on a perfect contour. And if you remember Grandpa Jim Biss, B-I-S-S-E, and Google that, or not Google it, search it on my channel, you'll just see all kinds of videos about this in various seasons, full of water. There's the cloth I was dragging along and some plastic. And I've arrived at Grandpa Jim Dam, I call it, although it's a prise d'eau really. And there's where my water's going, or the water's going. Up here in the mountain, I mean, it's rocky everywhere. And so I've already laid one cloth up there. I think it was yesterday I was up here to experiment. And you can see I was using bunker cover. And I was getting minimum or mixed results. It helped to keep the water going, but it doesn't solve that problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff old feed sacks down that hole, put some rocks on it. I'll lay the plastic back over it, and then I'm going to go to my polyester cloth system, and we'll see. I mean, that's a pretty good supply of water for this time of year. Well, as you can see, that did virtually nothing to stop the water, but it did fill the gaps in somewhat. I think there's a reason for doing that. I'm not actually really sure, but I'm going to lay the plastic back on, and then I'm going to lay that cloth on. I'll probably have to go get a second one, which I don't mind doing. Here's the cloth that I laid down yesterday over that bunker cover that's been here for a long time, that I was experimenting with before. Now I'm going to go get another cloth or maybe, well, before I do that, I'll lay the one that I've got. I'll lay it down here. Then I'm going to go get another one. What I've done is I've covered those feed sacks with the bunker cover that was there that was laid back. And I mean, already the water's going across it, but across that area. Oh, another thing I wanted to say here, I don't have to impound water at all. It's a pure prise d'eau. It's just a matter of turning the water out of the natural drain and getting it out of the bank. And by where that black plastic is right there, by right about there, I will have been out of the bank. I started high enough. That's where I was. You can see the dry bisque full of leaves coming along here. Down there is the natural drain, so already I'm that much above it. And there it goes, right along an experimental, well, yeah, I think experimental mine face. Right here and up there just a little bit more. I've turned around. There maybe you can see how I took a pick and some hard work to bring that bisque right across that mine face. But that drop, I can use that drop out there a little bit more. I think I've found the place where I can get the most drop for a water wheel. The last that I would bother with, but very high head. I mean, a lot of height to it. And a lot of water in the spring. Well, while I was gone, the water going across the plastic has found another hole. I knew that hole was here. Don't have any more feed sacks to stick in there, but I can stick a rock in. Here, that's a start. And it doesn't really work to shovel soil in something like that because it just ends up washing right through. But I'll lay a little bit of that black plastic across here because this area right where I'm standing has been problematic in the past. And then the cloth that I've dragged, I'll lay it on here. That should do for today. You see the water's going through, which is right. I don't mean by any means to shut it off completely. I think this will do for today. I've got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 claws here. And tomorrow I'll come up here again and I'll bring a shovel because I can see right there sediment built up from the floods before. I'd shovel that out of the way anyway. And this clay on the bank, I'll take a little bit of it and throw it on the upper side of the claws. And we'll see how it goes. I'll need at least one more cloth, but it wouldn't have to be a very long one.